Very interesting, some of the things you mentioned. I know when I spoke to you earlier, you also mentioned that when you first started at the Met, there wasn't many followers online, or was there even an Instagram account?
There was. I created the Instagram account.
So you started on 0, and now it's on 1.4 million. And be honest, what challenges did you encounter?
So, I mean, for the Met, specifically with the Met, one of the biggest challenges that I came across was getting people internally to want to participate on social or realize why it was important. You know, the Met is a very old school institution, and there was definitely a lot of hesitation and reservations about, oh, why are we going to be on Instagram? You know, we don't really need to be on these platforms. But I really, you know, throughout my time there, have really shifted the mindset there, and also the success of the accounts has spoken for themselves in a way. But, you know, for me, it was challenging to get on board you know, curators, for example, to care about it or to participate in it. But now, you know, there's been a huge shift, and I have a lot of content that I get from curators and conservators. But also building up the audience was definitely a challenge for us. I mean, I think a lot of people didn't expect, you know, the Met to be on Instagram. It's not something you would immediately think of. Maybe now, but when I started the account over 3.5 years ago, no one really thought about it. So I think getting people, and you know, the Empty Met campaigns, I think definitely really helped get it launched off the ground. And then I think to this day, just trying to produce the highest quality possible content that people would engage with.
Yep. Engagement's a proper keyword. It gets thrown about everywhere, doesn't it? So you've got 1.4 million followers on Instagram. What levels of engagement are you satisfied with? Like,
sure.
What makes you think, yeah, that's all right? Because I hear theories all the time from certain people, like if you've got 1 million followers, you should at least get 10% of likes of the amount of followers, or you should get this many comments. But for yourself, for someone who started this, what levels of engagement satisfy you?
I mean, I think that I never say like, oh, I want 10% or I want 5% or anything, but I think that, you know, if we're getting, you know, on average, we're getting about 15,000 likes per photo, which for me is pretty satisfying to see numbers like that. And for me, I'm much more interested in having communities on any platform that are engaged and having a ton of followers. So I'd rather have 100 people and 100 likes than 1 million people and 100 likes. For me, it's much more important that people are really engaging with our content than are just simply bystander. Or we don't really buy followers. Like, we've never done any really paid campaigns, so we really do have an organic community.
Yep. Was it difficult at the start when you were speaking to the people who run the Met to get them involved in something like Instagram? Because it is, like you said, such a historical place, and you don't want to lose the brand values, which can be lost very easily. Like, what was that conversation like, and who did you have the conversation with?
Sure. So yeah, it was very challenging. It took me 6 months of internal campaigning to get them to let me do an Instagram account. And, you know, it was a lot of talking to the various departments and making them understand the importance of social. You know, I did a lot of trainings. I did a lot of education. I had to speak with everyone from my direct boss to the director of the museum and say, we really need to be on this platform, and these are the reasons why. And I think, you know, they've seen a great return on it now, but it was definitely an uphill battle in the beginning.
Yep. I asked you this question earlier, and it's something that I'm really interested to know, because imagine if you've built an account of 1.4 million followers, and one day you leave your job. You have to hand that over to somebody. How would you feel?
It would be hard. It would be like leaving my child in a way. You know, I have built, so for every account we do, I've created an overarching strategy document that kind of outlines the strategy for our account, and I think that's really important with social media. I think that it's really important to think about every channel uniquely and the type of, you know, the benefits you get from each account. I think I've seen a lot of brands and, you know, companies that have kind of a one-size-fits-all thing where they'll just share the same content across all channels, and I just don't think that makes sense or works. But I think, you know, leaving it, even though I have built out strategy documents and photography guidelines, et cetera, it would be hard for me.
Yeah. And your work has inspired museums across the world, hasn't it, to follow that strategy? And in similar essences, I've seen it happen with the Tate in London and stuff like that. Do you have any plans to move your work across or go and work for another museum?
Yeah, you know, I've definitely thought about potentially, you know, working with museums all over and, you know, unique ways and kind of being a liaison between different museums and galleries and artists too. I think there's a lot of potential for Instagram and for other social networks, but in particular the art field, Instagram. for artists to sell their works, to promote their works, for galleries also to use it as a buying tool. And I think a lot of galleries are using social as a way to attract new and younger buyers who maybe wouldn't typically.
So what's the main demographic of your followers?
So the Met's main demographic is, it skews younger than the typical Met visitor. It's about 25 to like 30, and it's a little bit more female heavy, but it's close to 50-50 male women.
And do you have different age demographics per youth? For example, on my YouTube account, I have an audience aged between 13 to 16, and then my Facebook account is predominantly 22 and over, and then my Instagram is like the late teenagers. What's it like for you?
It's similar for the men in a way where, well, our YouTube is older, much older than yours. But yeah, and Facebook is like 25 to 30. Twitter is about the same, a little bit older. And then Instagram is more like 18 to like 23.
And how far in advance do you plan your strategies? Like, do you have your Christmas stuff sorted out already now?
Sure. No, I wish. But we do build out calendars, and we try to build out as much as we can. We know what exhibition schedules are coming up. But we do one thing about social is it's very fluid and very in the moment too. So we try to, like, when we can, be spontaneous and have fun with it as well. But we do plan out a lot. It's a lot of planning.
Yep. And have you made any mistakes on the way?
Yeah, I mean, I guess everyone has made a social mistake or two. We've definitely sent out content by accident that has a typo here, or and I think that with social, I think people, while of course we want to be as polished as we can, we are human, and I think that mistakes here and there are expected and do happen.
Yep.
But as the Met, we try to limit those as much as possible.
Yeah, because I guess the backlash for you would be a lot heavier than it would be for me. And what has it ever happened to you where you've sat at home and your friend screenshotted something that you've posted and been like, oh, you made a spelling mistake here, mate? And then before you know it, 1 million people have seen it, including your boss.
Yeah, that has happened. I mean, we did, like I said, we've a couple times had like a typo here or there. And it's crazy how fast people respond to that and immediately call us out. So, we do try to, as much as possible, triple, quadruple check our work. But, it happens. And we try to, all of our social accounts have myself and then my counterpart at the museum who also works on social. Our names are like associated with every account. Our Twitter handles are in the bio of our, Twitter account. Trying to make the Met, like, we're human, we're people, we're not just this elusive Met.
Yep.
Yeah.
And let's leave the Met for a second and talk about yourself. And if anyone's got any questions, just put your hand up and we'll come over to you. Who do you follow on social media?
Sure. So, I follow a lot of different people. One of my favorite accounts is, in the US, it's a pretty big food account. It's called The Infatuation. They do really great Instagram content, food-related. I'm a big Beyonce fan, so I got to give it up to Beyonce. I think
Are you part of the Beehive?
I'm definitely part of the Beehive. I just saw her in New York like a couple weeks ago. But I think her social strategy, I mean, she obviously has a huge team working for her, but it's very strategic and very well done. She showcases glimpses of her life, and obviously she's very guarded and extremely famous, but I think she has really done a good job with her social strategy.
But hers is so strategically well done that to a consumer that's not involved in social media, they would think, oh, this is her.
Completely, and I think that's why it's successful. She has a crazy dedicated audience, but I think that she's done a really good job and been very smart about it. I also think that, there's a ton of great accounts. Who do you follow?
Do you know Amber Rose?
Yeah.
I follow Amber Rose on Instagram. I follow a lot of, do you know what's strange? I've never, ever been fascinated by like UFC or wrestling or boxing, but I've recently found on Instagram that's all that comes up. Like, UFC has flooded my Instagram page. Like, that's all I see is like Conor McGregor fights or Nate Diaz, and I've never been a fan of fighting, and that's all I see. And it's funny because I look at the people I don't follow more than the people that I follow. I think I just follow the people to keep my friends happy, but I don't actually follow what they're posting. I know who I naturally go to type in, do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
that makes sense. But a big one I follow all the time is Unilad. Do you know Unilad?
Yep.
And like Lad Bible and stuff like that. I follow their stuff a lot. I think their content's incredible. I've got a question for you. Maintaining the levels of engagement is difficult. And I'm pretty sure for a lot of us, we can start, we can build, and we can't maintain. What's like your main advice on maintaining a following?
I think on maintaining a following, it's really important to consider your resources and not try to get involved in too many platforms. I think that one way people fall to the wayside with that is they try to be on every single network. Oh, you know, Snapchat's really hot right now. Everyone needs to be on Snapchat. The Met, we're not currently on Snapchat, but we work with Snapchat a lot to promote our content. So, for example, you know, the New York. So New York has their own Snapchat story, like everywhere has their own, like Graz probably has a Snapchat story. And we had to like Snapchat come down and interview a couple of our curators about our roof garden exhibition, and it was like the main feature on the New York story for a day. So while we're not active on it, it's a way for us to be involved on the platform. I think that that's one piece of advice I would definitely give is don't get involved in too many things, and also think about the frequency of content you're producing. For us, I think one reason the accounts have been as successful as they have been is the amount of content we produce on them. And granted, I'm working with a team, so I'm not just one person, but you know, we're posting 4 Facebook posts a day, we're penning 5 to 10 things a day, we're uploading at least 1 video to YouTube a day, we're posting 1 to 2 Instagrams a day and like 7 to 10 tweets, and I think that's partly why people engage with us, because they're expecting a constant stream of content.
Well, I found that, especially with YouTube, once you've built subscribers, they want the stuff from you, and if you don't give it to them, they're going to go somewhere else. And this is an open question to everybody, so feel free to get involved. What's your favorite social media campaign of all time?
Campaign of all time?
Yeah.
That's hard.
Anyone in the crowd? Your favorite social media campaign? Wow, great levels of participation.
What's yours?
I don't know with regards to like campaign, but one person I think does a really, really good job of being like irrelevantly relevant is Kanye West.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think he can send a tweet, and the tweet's in newspapers. I don't know if it's a campaign or if it's strategically planned, and I can't figure it out. It's like he says one thing and it's all over the world. Yeah. So he's one person I think like the blueprint to his work is valuable.
Yeah, he's very influential. It's crazy. Like I was in New York the other week when his Governor Ball show got canceled. I don't know if anyone heard about this, but his Governor Ball show got rained out, and he tweeted like a show at 2 a.m. and like there were 60,000 people flooded the streets of New York at this one venue trying to get in, and the NYPD had to come and shut down half the city just for Kanye West. That one tweet did that.
Yeah, nice. So. It is crazy. What have been your most like notable moments in social media?
Mine personally?
Yeah.
I think, I mean, the Empty Met campaign is one. You know, I also do all the social around the Met Gala, so I don't know how many people are familiar with the Met Gala, but it's kind of like...
Is that where Jay-Z and Thing had a fight in the lift?
Yeah, so that's where Jay-Z and Beyonce had their infamous fight in the elevator, yeah. It's kind of like the Oscars of the fashion world, if you will, and that's been extremely successful for us, and I've built up a huge program around it. So we are doing content from the red carpet, from the party, from the exhibition. We worked with Snapchat and Vogue to produce a story that was sent out to every user in the world that got seen by over 300 million people, or 300 million views, not people. And you know, for us, it's an interesting way to connect with new audiences to get Met Gala is, because a lot of people will follow us specifically to see like red carpet content or to see, you know, Beyonce and Taylor Swift. But the interesting thing, and you know, one thing I am proud of about it is that so on the day of the Met Gala this year, we gained 35,000 new Instagram followers in one day because of the gala content, and we only lost about 3,000 of those people. So I think that it's a testament to the work that I do, that it's engaging enough that people who maybe follow us to see a celebrity will actually continue to follow us because of the content the Met produces.
Got you. This is on topic, but it's a little off topic. I found more recently when a celebrity dies or when a natural disaster occurs on planet Earth, we hashtag and we'll say, pray for X, Y, and Z, or rest in peace, blah, blah, blah. But from what I know, everyone I know that does it doesn't actually pray. Mm-hmm. And like they will say, like, pray for blah, 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 but they won't actually do that. Mm-hmm. I believe we've become disconnected in the most connected way. What's your views on it?
Yeah, I agree with that completely. I think that social, while it's been great to bridge new gaps and have people experience things they maybe wouldn't have otherwise, I totally agree with that. And I think that we do live in this age where it is more disconnected and we're all in front of our screens and people will post things like pray for Paris, for example, and you know, they're not actually praying. Yeah. And I think it's interesting in the way that social has yeah, the implications of that.
Yep. And what's next for the Met?
What's next for the Met? So, 360 we've really been experimenting with, and we're really trying to do more of that. We've been working with Facebook directly, too, to implement a lot of those videos on their Oculus. So I think that's one thing. Another thing is, for me, it's just integrating more with curators, so having more curatorial involvement. I've really stressed to having curators on Instagram. I think that it's one thing for the Met to post photos about an exhibition. It's way different for a curator to show you how the exhibition got put together. Often these exhibitions are put together over a period of 1 to 4 years, so it's really interesting, I think, in that sense. What about for you?
Me, well, I'm going to this party tonight, which I believe everyone else is. Just what I would like to do is just work with more content creators that are just more meaningful. Because I found a lot of times in certain situations, brands throw money at people to promote like tea. Like a lot of my friends that are social media influencers promote tea just because of their numbers. And I'm like, come on, man, why are you promoting tea? You don't even drink tea. You're doing this. So it's just, I want to work with more like meaningful projects and meaningful campaigns, and that will make me happy. We've got time for a few questions from the audience, if anybody has any. Yeah, there's a question. Or there's a few.
Hi, I'm Sophie. I work also in the museum business, and I noticed that like the director never ever wants to give money to the social media section, but more to print advertising. And I wanted to know if they kind of changed their way of thinking now, that they said, okay, they give more money towards social media than the other advertising budget.
Sure. So for the Met, it's still an uphill battle. I've made some waves there where we started to experiment a little bit with advertising on social, but it has really been, I think there's just a feeling in the museum of the old guard where people want to just, the Met's very, we want to be in the New York Times, but at the end of the day, like I've implemented ways for them to work more with bloggers or Instagrammers or social media people as opposed to just the old guard. But when it comes to advertising, to be honest, it is very much the old standard, even at the Met.
But you must have made them a lot of money, though.
I mean, yes, yeah.
So can't you just turn around and say, the money I make you, give it back to me and I'll put it back into you?
I
guess it's not as easy as that.
Yeah, I wish it was that easy. I'd be much happier.
There was a question in the front row here. Oh, at the back there.
I'll start. One question, Instagram is now introducing business accounts, so I guess for you tracking is very important. Did you already switch, and if yes, what did you gain from that?
Sure, so yeah, we have gotten some of the business analytics internal, and it's definitely been helpful. Before that, I don't know how many of you are familiar, but there's a tool called Iconosquare, and it's pretty cheap. It's like, I think, $90 a year, and that we were using that before Instagram's business tools. But the Instagram business tools definitely provide a lot more data on engagement, on the people who are actually following you, on your growth over time. It's just much more in depth. So hopefully that's expected to roll out to kind of any business page in the coming months. So hopefully you'll get that soon.
Hello, hi. I walked in a little late, so I don't know if you covered this topic, but I wanted to talk about activity ratios. So you can see some people have 1 million followers, but they only get maybe 100,000 likes. And what's your thoughts on activity ratio? And how do you think you can improve it to get higher? So for example, if there's 1 million people following, how can you get 1 million likes? Because I know people like, for example, the Kardashians are hitting those millions of likes and things like that, but there are people who have X amount of followers, but the activity ratio is very low. So I just wanted to see your thoughts on that.
Sure. It's hard. I mean, I think comparing to the Kardashians is hard. They're a very unique brand, for better or worse. But I think that, for me, at the end of the day, I'm much more interested in engagement than followers. So I'd much rather have few followers and a ton of likes. Of course, we want followers too. But I think that at the end of the day, for us, it's really about producing like the highest quality content you possibly can. And that's really what's going to drive engagement. I think that people resonate, especially on Instagram, with the image, and every image we send out on the Met account speaks for itself. While we want people to engage with the caption and what we write, I think the images really have to stand out on their own, and that will increase your engagement as well.
Wicked. We have time for one more, and it's a wrap after that. Oh wait, you've both given a microphone to so we'll do both. We'll do just front row first.
Okay, thanks. Question for both of you. What's your opinion on takeovers? Channel takeovers?
You know what? In my talk earlier, I mentioned DJ Khaled did a T-Mobile takeover. Sometimes I think it's really bad because it's so obvious this person's just been given X amount of money to sit there. However, sometimes it can work really well. I just think for the people I know personally that do takeovers and stuff, they really just do it for the money. And their followers know that, and everyone else kind of knows that. And I don't think the brand gets what it wants.
Yeah, I agree with pretty much all of that. I think you really have to be authentic, and I think it depends on who the person is you're recruiting for a takeover. And if the synergy's not there, it's going to be very obvious to the followers. And people are very adept these days, and I think you really just have to be as authentic as possible when you're thinking about takeovers like that.
Okay, question to Taylor. Could you say a few words about how your team, which is involved in the digital work, is set up at the Met?
Sure, so I'm housed in the digital media department of the Met, which is different than a lot of the time socials put in communications marketing. We work very closely with communications marketing, but the team's really small. It's me, one other full-time person, and then like 2 interns, pretty much. We also work with an outside agency. We've started to experiment with Chinese social media, so we're now active on Weibo and WeChat, and we're using a third-party agency, if you will, because neither I nor my counterpart speak Mandarin. But we've been experimenting in that platform because China's really like the fastest growing visitorship for the museum, and we're trying to figure out ways to engage with those communities.
Wicked. Thank you very much for your time, everyone. Thank you, Taylor.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. And if anyone wants to chat, we'll be around.
Yeah. All right, thank you.